Sabine Franco, also known as Sabine the Purpose Lawyer, and it's time for Sabine's Common Sense. Sabine's Common Sense question of the day is, how can I get out of this contract or lease? There's been so much buzz about contracts and the responsibility for people and businesses to abide by their contract or lease due to the economic impact of the 2020 pandemic caused by COVID-19. Businesses have had to close and many could not meet their contractual obligations, meaning the promises that they have made in their contracts or agreements that they signed with others. So I'm going to answer one of the common questions about contracts that I've been getting over the past couple of weeks. First, let's talk about how a contract or agreement such as a lease works. But before we get into that, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to my channel and click that little bell to turn on post notifications so that you know when I post these weekly videos. So, how does a contract or agreement like a lease work? There are promises that people or businesses enter into in exchange for something of value. Most times, it's some sort of monetary or financial exchange, aka money, basically. That is called consideration. Most obligations or things that you agree to with or between businesses are written in a formal contract, and if not, they should be. Some contracts you may be familiar with are lease agreements with your landlord or tenant, agreements for services such as your cell phone or internet. If you're a business, it could be an agreement with a supplier, a joint venture or project with another business owner or individual. I think I said service agreements for you to perform your service or receive a service, venue rental agreements, all types of agreements. Even with the apps that you use, there are agreements, right? So contracts are everywhere for almost everything where there's an exchange and you want to keep the other person to keep their promise, or you keep your promise. Being that contracts are everywhere and we are typically in many contracts without even realizing it. So what can you do if you need to get out of a contract or enforce one? Your ability to get out of or enforce a contract is going to depend on the terms of that contract, meaning what does it say? The current pandemic has many people talking about force majeure clauses. So what is that? It's a legal term from French origin that means something that was unforeseen or unpredictable. It's a circumstance that prevents you from performing under your contract. By performing, I mean basically keep your promises. The force majeure clause, or a similar act of God clause, gives you a defense that will allow you to possibly get out of your contract under certain circumstances. The problem with these clauses is that they are very dependent on the circumstance and whether or not the clause speaks to the circumstance at hand, like what happened. Many force majeure clauses state a number of, will list a couple of things that it covers, right? So it could be something like an act of God, war, terrorism, earthquakes, fire, and then usually a catch-all phrase like such as any other acts that are beyond the person's control, right? Some don't have or hadn't in the past included plagues or pandemics. So the question is, does this current pandemic automatically fall into one of those clauses? Another requirement for the force majeure clause that your performance has to actually be impossible for you to perform due to the force majeure events. So we want to see what courts we have to see what courts are going to say about this, because this sort of situation that we're in has been unprecedented, right? So I've been hearing rumors that courts are not going to be likely to enforce individuals having to comply with contracts during this pandemic if it was really impossible for them to do so. So if you want to find out if you can actually get out of your contract or lease, you need to have a local attorney in your state review that contract. There also may be other clauses in your contract that will allow you to cancel. I, on the other hand, am licensed in the state of New York and New Jersey with Franco Law Firm, and you can find my information below. Before you go, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell to turn on post notifications so that you know when I post these weekly videos. And also leave a comment below. Let me know if this video was helpful, and if there are other questions you may have. If I can get enough of the same questions, I'll make a post about it. That's all for Sabine's Common Sense question of the day. Don't forget to use your common sense, and if you don't have any, feel free to use mine.